was classified at school as the girl who always dropped down in a devotion. You just hear, Jesus love is a boof. Go to school, get a job, get married, have children, grow old together, and die. What a farce reality they had me living for a little under 30 years. And I don't know about you, but I have not been nourishing my body, mind, and soul with the substance that it needs to lead the life that I really want to lead. I mean, I've come to realize that the decisions I make for my body, mind, and soul will actually influence the life that I lead. And maybe that's not your reality and you're not thinking about health right now, but you're intrigued by this intro. So stay and come reason with Ash, Healthy Lifestyle. Our video in the Healthy Lifestyle series, Reason with Ash, Healthy Lifestyle. If you're new to this channel and you're watching this video for the very first time, thanks for joining. And if you've watched probably a couple others, but you're not so sure why Ashleigh-Ann is doing this, I'm a journalist for more than 7 years and I love telling stories. And one of the things that I enjoy doing is sharing information that will help people to lead better lives. And one of the best ways to do that is through storytelling. So the visuals in the background, of course, helps you to gain more insights into my story. My story as it relates to the food that I enjoy having and how my mom and I go about preparing them. And I also share the story of my health and wellness journey. There are so many things as women that we take for granted when it comes on to our health that I believe that we should start discussing some more, sharing ideas with each other and because in sharing those ideas with each other and those exchanges, we can come to a better understanding as to the best practices and the best avenues that we can take to navigate some of the common health scares. All right. So in this video, of course, it's another Jamaican meal, but this time I'm preparing breakfast. So, and I say I because I'm doing it this time around. My mom is taking a break. I will be preparing plantain porridge, and this is actually a special request. My guest today is Dr. Samantha Johnson, and I want to share with you a little bit about Dr. Samantha Johnson. Now, I stumbled across her content a couple weeks ago, and one of the things that I appreciate about Dr. Johnson is the humanizing of the information that she shares. I don't know about you, but sometimes I feel as if doctors can speak over our heads, and it's very frustrating. So when I stumble across a doctor who is actually making an effort to help me to understand the information that she has to share, which is of course very valuable to my life, right? I have to give her props. I have to big her up. And I think Dr. Johnson does a really good job at that. So a little background, she's actually a graduate of the University of the West Indies, Mona. She's a medical doctor, both in public and private, who works in both the public and private sector. And she has a long history with advocacy, working with non-governmental organizations such as the Jamaican Medical Students Association and J-Flag, and she has been a Woman Empowerment for Change ambassador, We Change, for several years. She's also the chairperson of the Jamaica Youth Advocacy Network Board, right? Now, her moniker on social media is the layman's doctor. I love that. And she classifies it as a lifestyle brand focused on bringing medicine home. acting as an advocate for both patients and healthcare workers by providing education and improving access and so many other things. But I want to encourage you to go over to her content or go to her website for all of that goodness in terms of health information. After you've watched this video, I'll definitely put a link to the Layman's Doctor website in the description below. Today, I spoke with the Layman's Doctor specifically to discuss anemia. Why? I struggle with anemia. And it's something that is a condition that's actually quite common in Jamaica among women. I've been anemic since I don't even remember how long I've been anemic. I only remember I was classified at school as the girl who always dropped down in a devotion. You just hear, Jesus love is a boof. Seriously. It was one of my unfortunately shameless things that I had to endure during prep school. I remember my classmates usually look at me like, "You alright?" Like, I feel as if my classmates usually worry more about me than how I worry than myself. Like, literally, them used to. I remember at one of the time that I fainted. Woo, it's so funny. Anyway, one of the times that I fainted, it's funny now, but it was scary then. One of the time I fainted, I remember I was telling one of my classmates during devotion that I want to sit. So she didn't hear what I was saying, because when I was growing up, I usually speak very, very, I was so soft. My voice was so soft. You could hardly hear what I was saying. Right? Except when I'm on the stage. When I'm on the stage, I'm a different person. But I digress. So she couldn't hear what I was saying. And I remember Rochelle looking at me like, what? And before Rochelle could even like comprehend what I was saying, I was in her arms. She literally caught me. That's how bit of a boof that time around. My grandma is a retired nurse, so she took it up in her hand to give me vitamin B shots. So I would get those like every 2 weeks, and I used to get it. Sorry, but I used to get it in my butt. Shameless disclosure. And they used to help. They used to help, and I had to be on iron tablets. So that's what I have been doing to manage my anemia, in addition to managing my diet. So I try not to indulge too much in, I try to ensure that I have an iron-rich diet. So stuff like banana, stuff like beetroot, juice are in the food. Even though I don't love it, I've grown to appreciate those type of things in my meals, because it actually helps me. And in addition to that, my trusted SSS tonic. Ask any one of my family members, give me my SSS tonic. Give it to me. And I have another story about that SSS tonic, but I know I won't start the show if I don't like. Before I hit record, you told me that plantain porridge is your favorite porridge, Jamaican porridge. Is it?
It's one of my favorites. I think my favorite is hominy. I really love hominy porridge. I don't know how to make it yet, but it's one of my favorite porridges.
So who makes it for you? Who makes it the best in your life?
No, I don't think I've ever had anybody make hominy for me. It's mostly like if I buy it from
store-bought,
Juicy.
Yes.
Yeah. But plantain porridge is definitely a second favorite. I especially love it. I recently learned how to make it as well, and just a little toops of oats in there too. It's so good. I really love it.
Oh, I've never tried it with oats,
Yeah.
Well, that's something. That is definitely something. All right. So you know about the show, you know what we talk about, because I did explain. Anemia. And let me just pull up my question so that I don't put you too much on the spot. But from what you understand from your medical background, what is anemia?
All right. Anemia, in its simplest of terms, is when you have a low blood count. And really, what we mean by that is that when I am able to say that you have a low blood count, is because I'm looking at something called hemoglobin, and that's a very important protein that is used to carry around oxygen in the body. So, our red blood cells or blood is made to carry things around the body, specifically the red blood cells carry around oxygen, and they do this with the help of hemoglobin.
Okay, great. Do you know what's the best blood count? Like, could you?
Are very there's a range. So let's start. There's a range, and the range is going to differ between men and women. And then, of course, for persons who, for example, have something like sickle cell, their number is also going to be different. So everything has to be taken into context.
Context, you mean lifestyle, right?
Yes, lifestyle and just who you are as a person. So even though I said it differs between men and women, it can also differ with age. Women who are in the reproductive age, having their menstrual cycles, their
Yes.
blood counts are oftentimes tend to be a little bit lower. So for example, if I saw a woman who has gone through menopause that has a blood count that I might expect in a menstruating woman, that in my head is going to be a cause for alarm because I would not expect that. So when I say context, it has to be the patient who is in front of me, their age, their sex, their gender, everything, and also why are they here as well. So everything in medicine has to be taken with context.
Yes.
Anemia again is gonna be from various causes. Why is your blood count low? Why are you anemic? Is it because you're having heavy periods? Are you losing more blood than your body is able to replenish? And this can be for a various number of reasons. Are you anemic because of a deficiency in your diet? Maybe you're not getting enough B12 or enough folate or enough iron. Are you anemic because you have an illness such as sickle cell disease? So for those, once we know what the cause is, that's when we know how to treat it. So for those that might have a reversible cause, so you're just not eating enough green leafy vegetables, that anemia can be, for want of a better word, cured. If it is that you're having heavy periods, we have to treat the heavy periods. What is the cause of the heavy periods? How can we get you to stop losing as much blood during your menstrual cycle? That again is another way that we can potentially cure the anemia. So I can't give a blanket answer for it. It has to be based on what is the reason behind this anemia that you're having.
When I was pregnant, my doctor told me that I need to have a lot of green leafy vegetables, and I had to do a lot of so he would recommend that I blend it and just have it like a shake. But I'm going to be honest with you, Dr. Johnson, that is just so honestly, when I was pregnant, it felt like torture. So
biggest reasons why women in reproductive age group have anemia is either because they're menstruating or because of their pregnancies, right? And in your pregnancies, it's so important that you try to keep up your blood count levels, right? And that's oftentimes why we suggest supplements. So, you might take your Natel, you have to take your folate, your iron tablets and whatnot, and I mean, there are for anemia that is caused because for anemia that's as a result of, say, something that's deficient in your diet, you can always get it from food sources. But then, of course, you have vitamins, you have, and there are a lot of formulations. You have your one-a-days and your one-a-day woman, your one-a-day silver, stuff like that. So that's another way. But, really and truly, I think many of us like to know that it starts not with the supplements only. So like or how can I say this? It would be nice to get it from your diet. That would be the best way. But we do understand, especially if you're already coming in anemic, that you will need both diet and oftentimes supplementation with medication as well.
Some people may say, well, I just always feel weak during my time of the month, but I've never been formally diagnosed. I don't know if I really have anemia. Are there
Mm-hmm.
any like telltale signs or
Funnily enough, I think a lot of people realize that they are anemic either when they try and give blood and they're like, nope, because there's a very quick test that they do to see what your approximate hemoglobin level is or your approximate blood count level is, right? So a lot of people find out that way. And this is definitely me saying, go donate blood is such an important thing to do. Or they might find out if they do like one of their a random blood test, whether they got sick or they're doing maybe a yearly or every 2 year checkup. So signs and symptoms of anemia: feeling tired, 100%, feeling weak, maybe you look pale, your heart is beating fast, your heart racing, those are called palpitations. You might have some shortness of breath. You may feel dizzy or lightheaded. You might have headaches. People might say, boy, your hands feel cold or your legs feel cold. Stuff like that. So there are lots of signs and symptoms. However, a lot of that, what I said, can be used for so many other things. Let's use the example of COVID. You can have headaches with COVID, shortness of breath with COVID. So it's always going to be best once you have an issue that you're going to whether it is your health center nearest to you or a private practitioner, your general practitioner, or anything, and not having them assess what it is. Don't just say, oh, I'm weak and it's my period time. I'm probably just anemic. Let me just take some iron tablets or let me just drink some green leafy vegetables. If you're having issues that you really should not be having, that's one of the best times to engage your healthcare provider. And I also think the first best time or the best time to engage your healthcare provider is, of course, in like a yearly checkup and more often if needed.
I like how you mentioned yearly checkup. Trust me, because that's something that, especially for women who have very heavy and busy schedules, once we don't feel sick, we don't think we need to visit the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. When to switch back over to the porridge conversation for a little bit. All right, so plantain porridge, what is a must ingredient? You must have it in
Coconut
your
milk, 100%. Coconut ingredient. Actually, I have a TikTok on how to make plantain porridge. I think I do. But you have your green plantain, one ripe banana or one super ripe plantain to make it sweet. So we're not using, actually don't sweeten it. So the only time I'm adding sugar or honey is if the ripe plantain or the ripe banana is not enough. So you have your green plantain, your ripe banana, or your ripe plantain. You have to have coconut milk, whether you blend it, powder, can. My father gonna say the blended one is the best. So you cut your coconut, you blend it yourself, everything. And you have to have your cinnamon, your nutmeg, your vanilla, right? A little tubes of salt, and it's really easy, really simple to make, and it's really delicious. It's like one of my favorite porridges. You break up the piece of bread and you mix it up. It's one of the porridges
My
that I eat
mom
by
does that.
itself. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's probably the only porridge that I don't feel like I have to mix it up in. But you have to do it for the culture because you have to have you have to have porridge with little pieces of bread in there.
Honestly, that is new to me. I always wonder why she did it. And then I think it was probably a week ago we were talking about it because I do have porridge very often. So it was something I actually craved when I was pregnant. Yeah. It was cornmeal porridge. But yeah, she was like, you have to have a slice of bread, 2 slices of bread. I'm like, why? Is it because it's
It's not
light
a
or
great
you know? It's a
It's not a
Jamaican thing.
great it's not a great practice because porridge can be so heavy in carbs. It's I grew up seeing it, and you're right. Like I have no idea why we do it, but up to this day, it's very hard to eat a bowl of porridge and not put any bread in there. But because the oats gives it the texture, the chewing texture, I find that I don't really need it as much with that.
Right, so wrapping up now. Say for our based on what you explained to me, I'm going to categorize the women who I believe will watch my show. So menstruating women, what are the best strategies that they can implement, lifestyle strategies to better
Mm-hmm.
manage their anemia once they're formally diagnosed?
Okay. I mean, if you're formally diagnosed, you'll be following your practitioner's, your gynecologist plan, right? And I mean, I know we said formally diagnosed, but I want to use this opportunity to say that having heavy, super heavy periods, bleeding for long periods of a time, bleeding multiple times for the week, having painful periods. I think a lot of us think that, oh, it's everybody goes through this is normal, but it isn't, right? So even if you're not sure, just having a conversation with a gynecologist and finding a gynecologist that you feel comfortable with and you trust, right? And having a conversation about your period and saying, hey, is this normal? Is there a potential issue, right? That would be, of course, the number one thing. For persons who are formally diagnosed and it's due to, having your menstrual cycle, it would go back down to eating iron-rich foods and then, of course, supplementation if needed. And that has to be a conversation that's guided by a practitioner. For the general public, it's all about, and it's hard to say a balanced diet, especially now when we have so many, what's it called? Food that's processed, we're not eating a lot of vegetables, not a lot of ground provision, stuff like that. But food is nourishment, food is it gives you substance. So that's one of the best ways to ensure that you're getting all your vitamins and your minerals and then supplementing where needed with, you can use over the counter vitamins and stuff like that. But I always think that it's great to not self-treat, but to follow the instructions of a trusted healthcare provider that you have a good relationship with.
You are helping to bring medicine home through your platform, the layman's doctor, right? Yeah.
Yes. And what that really means is starting a conversation about health and wellness and thinking about it outside of just clinical things, but everything else that affects it. And we know that healthcare and health itself really intersects a lot of different areas of life. And then again, the layman's doctor is focused on improving healthcare service delivery. This is largely through bridging gaps between healthcare workers, healthcare systems, and of course, our patients and clients. And that's done in a myriad of ways, whether it's through capacity building, through health education, health promotion, and just having a conversation about healthcare that exists beyond just what is diabetes, what is hypertension, but looking at the different aspects of healthcare that affect one another and creating a cycle that feeds into each other and ultimately improves how we deliver healthcare, not just here in Jamaica, but the Caribbean and the region and the whole world.